The story begins with Po, a wealthy young man born privileged who believes the world is his. As always, Po is going from club to club, squandering his father's money and acting like a bully. One night he bothers a girl and a burly security guard asks him to leave. The young man dislikes the order and hits the guard with a bottle, causing an altercation. At that moment, Kai, his father's right-hand man, appears to save him from a beating. However, Po refuses to obey, giving the attackers time to regain their courage. They attack Kai, who is highly trained in martial arts. While defending himself, he defeats everyone and destroys the place. So, the owner of the establishment, fed up with the situation, appears armed to the teeth and puts an end to the fight. As they leave, Kai insists that Po return home, reminding him that they are at war and he should be supporting his father instead of making a fool of himself with girls in bars. For Po, these words are useless. He gets into his car and goes back to the party. Tragically, the next morning they find his body hanging from a pole on a city street. He has been brutally murdered and his body displayed for all to see. On the other side of the city, Isaac received the news of Po's death. He immediately orders Max, his right-hand man, to find the culprit and bring him before him. Meanwhile, in prison, we meet Han, Po's brother, who furiously receives the news of what happened. After attacking an inmate who mocked his mourning, he hits several guards. They subdue him and drag him to a cell in the basement to torture him. During the journey, Han pretends to be unconscious while memorizing the way. Upon reaching the cell, they tie his feet and start beating him as if he were a punching bag. To everyone's surprise, Han reacts just in time, frees his hands, knocks out the guards, and takes the keys to his handcuffs. Quickly, he puts on the uniform of one of the guards and walks through the corridors with confidence, as he memorized every step of the way there. With the same calmness, he takes a bicycle and escapes from prison, while chaos erupts behind him as the beaten guards finally activate the alarm. Back in America, Isaac visits Singh, Po's father, to offer his condolences and assure him that he is not involved in his son's death. After leaving, Isaac orders Mac to triple the security for his family, including his daughter Trish, who has a store downtown. Mac assigns Maurice to watch Trish 24/7. Maurice seems to like the idea, since Trish is beautiful, but she has no patience for guys like him. However, it's an order from her father, so Trish accepts that Maurice will be her driver for now. Nearby, a package arrives at a barber shop. The familiar owner of Isaac receives it like any other. He gives it to a customer to open while cutting his hair. But when he does, a strong explosion kills everyone in the barber shop. The scene shifts to Trish, who, tired of Maurice's constant watch, has escaped. By chance, she gets into the taxi Han just stole, a meeting that intertwines their destinies. Trish finds out Han stole it, but promises not to report him if he helps her escape. Han agrees and takes her to his shop, where we meet Kaleem, Trish's brother, who is on the phone with their father about something Po had in his possession that could end the war. Meanwhile, they search his brother's apartment and upon reviewing the call history, discover that Po called Trish's store several times. Back with Trish, who has once again evaded Maurice's surveillance, Mac decides to intervene and explain the situation to her. She refuses to continue being watched, which infuriates Mac, who yells at her that he doesn't care if she thinks she's rebellious. Someone ended up hanging from a pole, and she will obey her father's orders or he himself will lock her up for as long as necessary. Before leaving, Mac hits Maurice and threatens him that he will suffer the same fate as Trish if he doesn't grow up and do his job well. At home, Colin informs his father about what he knew about Po and leaves. When Mac arrives, he reports the incident with Trish to his boss, clarifying he lacks patience for a girl. Then he shows him a newspaper with the news of the explosion at the barber shop. The place not only belonged to a relative, but also served as a secret warehouse for merchandise, causing them million-dollar losses. When Trish returns home, she finds Han waiting for her. She assumes he's there about the taxi issue, but Han explains that his brother is dead and his only lead is someone who was talking to him from her store. At that moment, Maurice arrives with his friends, whom he recruited to better fulfill his job. Han leaves the apartment pretending to be a delivery person, but Maurice notices there's no food in the house. Upon discovering the deception, he sends his men to catch him. This is where we witness the first fight scenes characteristic of this genre. He defeats everyone with spectacular moves and escapes in the car of his attackers. This afternoon he attends his brother's funeral and then visits his father, who is surprised to see him since Singh has not been able to avenge his son's death. He promises to do it for his brother. Then he looks for Kai to question him about what happened, but he only mentions the problems Po had at the bar the night before dying. While following this lead, Han meets Trish and they spend some time together, strolling through the park and buying ice cream for the kids. Mac watches them and approaches to meet Han. He invites him to play rugby while discreetly indicating to his friends to be tough on the Chinito. Despite being at a disadvantage, Han scores and momentarily wins Trish's admiration by humiliating Mac's men again. Before leaving, Han gives Trish the number her brother was calling, asking her to find out who it belongs to. That night, while Colin and his girlfriend are having fun using drugs, someone knocks on the door. The next scene shows their bodies falling hundreds of meters until they crash into the water on the coast. After her brother's death, Trish blames her father and his businesses. Mac explains to her that the killer knew Colleen, as the entry was not forced. He reminds her that the deal is still in effect and they should focus on that. They can seek revenge later. Meanwhile, Han finds his brother's apartment completely trashed. The intruders didn't find what they were looking for. Following a hunch, he checks the car and discovers a cane with a secret compartment containing a list of addresses. Upon returning, he finds Trish waiting for him on his couch. She comes to ask for his help, fearing she might be the next victim after her brother's murder. Han shares his discovery and together they visit the first address on the list. They find a huge car depot, but all the employees are dead. Suddenly, they hear engines roaring and Han spots two motorcyclists with submachine guns. When they start shooting, Han and Trish flee quickly. The chase is thrilling. The second one catches up but is out of ammo. He confronts Han hand to hand until he removes the helmet, revealing that it is a woman who escapes. The next morning, Isaac and his men take Trish out of her house and put her in a car. His father tells him to stay away from Han, his enemy's son, as they're at war. Isaac takes his daughter to his mansion, which has 24-hour security, and promises her she can return to her life once they close the pending deal. Later, Isaac calls Rock, the important businessman with whom he'll make the deal. This informs him that Singh seems to have a better offer, which enrages Isaac, who promises to outdo his rival. Upstairs, Han, who has followed Isaac's car, arrives at Trish's room. They have a list to follow and have come for his partner. Han confesses to her that there's only one place left to check, as the rest have been burned or demolished. The last address turns out to be Sok's club, who starts watching Trish. As soon as he sees her enter, Sok sends his men, who drag the couple to his office. There he clarifies he won't sell his business, no matter if Isaac sent his daughter as a gift. Trish doesn't understand what Silk means, but then Mac appears and everything is clear. He has been buying up businesses in the area without Isaac knowing. His plan is to murder Isaac and take over his empire. When Trish tries to give orders, Mac slaps her and threatens to kill her if she doesn't shut up, warning her that she wouldn't want to end up like her brother. Meanwhile, Singh is meeting with Rob, to whom he has sold all his properties for several million. Then Rob receives Isaac and offers him the same deal, but Isaac is more ambitious than him. The old Chinese man tries to convince Rob to give him a share of what he plans to create with all those properties he's about to acquire. Rob stands up and says that wasn't part of the deal. Isaac responds that things always change and he couldn't be more right, as Mac appears with Trish. Isaac has 30 seconds to sign the papers or he'll see his daughter's head blown off. Isaac loses control and lunges at Mac. Rob flees to the rooftop to escape in his helicopter, but Mac catches up to him and kills his right-hand man. Mac manages to keep the briefcase containing Isaac and Singh's property titles if he manages to get out alive, as they have appeared to avenge their brother's death. Mac reveals to him that he didn't kill Po. That came from his own family. Just as he killed Colin because he was tired of taking care of him, I killed Po for the same reason. Before Mac can shoot, Trish appears and uses her father's gun to kill him. Then they return to Isaac, who will survive and thanks Han for protecting his daughter. In the end, Han sets out for revenge and finds Kai at his house, ready to give him the same death he gave Po. The fight is incredible, full of awesome moves, One of revelations while he thought he was going to win, Kai began to boast about his skill, confessing to Han that it wasn't his idea to kill Po, it was his father's, who was sure that Po would ruin his deal with Raw. This plot twist gave Han the strength to get up and give his best effort, achieving a flying kick that sent Kai to the other world. In the end, Han goes to his father to tell him that he will not make the same mistake of killing his family. Instead, he will let the police arrest him. But Singh doesn't plan to spend a single day in prison. No, as soon as Han turns his back, he takes a gun and ends his life. The movie ends with Han reuniting with Trish, who loves Chinese food, and they will surely make a good couple after everything they've been through together. And that's how this great movie ends. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and thanks for